Good evening. Good afternoon. Unsure about time zones today. Wow, so many familiar faces. And so many cameras turned off, which is also completely fine. But you're very much welcome to put them on if you want to. All right, so let's see. Bella, you're on waiting room duty.
I am.
Inviting people, fantastic. And the chat is already happening. Oh, it's Jocke. No surprise there. Let's see. Let's give ourselves another minute or so to let people arrive. And there we go. What do you say, Bella? Should we kick off?
Yeah,
let's do it. So, welcome. Today is about how we design for constant change. How we live in constant change is maybe part of the brief, but slightly too philosophical, perhaps. But we're going to design for constant change, and that's what the topic that we're exploring today. And we're also launching our impact loop, and that is fresh off the press. Yesterday, it got public to our trial users. Super excited about that. And we're going to talk more about that later on today. Right, so today is about this topic. How can AI help us make change happen in everyday life and work? So change is constant, and the way we run change needs to be constant too. And we're going to explore that today and what it actually takes to make change work in the sort of everyday life and how AI can help us with that practically. So looking at for ourselves to change and when we lead others in change. So we're going to explore that topic from those two different angles. Our own change and the need, the change when we need to drive change that involves others. So with us today, we have Jocke. We call him the AI and internet guy. You didn't go for the fancy title. And you're going to explore with us the 4 jobs of AI, giving us a little bit of guidance in how we can work with AI and some principles around that. And then we have me and Bella with us. So my name is Maria. I work at Tilda with our customer success, making sure that our customers get the most out of Tilda. And with our community, we have an amazing network of people in our community, both investors and clients and people who wants to be close to this topic. So that's me. Bella, share a little bit about you.
Yes. So I'm Bella, and I am one of the co-founders. We're 3 co-founders of Tilda, and I'm also the CEO. And I'm very excited to see so many people here. This seems like a topic that is relevant to many. So yeah, very excited to explore it with you today.
Super. And Jocke, who's been in this space for, I'm going to say forever.
Careful now, careful now. I'm not that old. 92?
Since the early days of internet, we can say that. And I know that you're going to introduce yourself a bit more later on, so we'll just leave it at that. And then Tilda. So Tilda is the workspace, the AI workspace to drive change. So Tilda gives anyone the that works with driving change, the structure and the guidance and the intelligence to design behavior shifts that actually stick without needing to be that expert in change management. And we're going to share more about Tilda, and we're going to give you a demo on Tilda later on today. But first, let's do a little check-in. So, looking at the image, identify the number that best represents your relationship with AI today. Share that in the chat, please, together with your name, your role, and your organization.
I think that today is important because
Yeah.
I would argue that you can move in between different numbers or people in this image depending on mood, what you've just read or what you just tried. So where are you right now?
I 100% agree with that. Let's see, we have number 2 standing up there looking with the binoculars. We've got some
7.
8. Who are you? Oh, I don't know how to interpret that, like chilling on the deck.
The 7.
Looking in the, yeah. Comfortable.
Yeah. Looking forward, like looking ahead, maybe exploring what's ahead.
Exactly. And we've got some people pulling up the anchor. We've got some number 4s hanging on for dear life. We got some 5s climbing up the ladder. We have any 14s who's throwing up out from the boat?
And we have someone that wished to be 20. And yeah, I can agree that would be very nice.
What are not sitting here on the side.
Well, I guess it's being comfortable. I would read it as being comfortable with it all.
Beautiful. So yeah, we have 12. Yeah,
that's running.
We have a good. Please wait for me. Oh, you're in Parma, Jocke. You didn't say that.
Oh, that's nice.
Feel nothing like 20. All right. Jocke is number 5. Yeah, also climbing up the ladder. Right. So the idea with this check-in is just like Bella said, embracing that we can be all of these numbers and we can move between the different numbers throughout the course of a day, and hopefully wanting to give you some inspiration to feel like one of the more calmer numbers or one of the more exciting numbers throughout this session. And with that, I am super excited to pass over to you, Jocke, a long-term friend of ours and a friend of Tilda. And I'm so glad that you're here to share your perspectives on this, because you're one of the more excited AI users that I know, but also like really determined to support others in using AI as well. So super happy that you are here. And with that, I'll pass over to you.
Well, thanks a lot. Yeah, what a time to be alive. Like you said, thank you for that I'm old. I've been around for a while, right? I started working with digital transformation in 1992. So you do the math. But honestly, I've never had this much fun before. I've never worked this much. I've never had this much fun before. I never learned as much on an almost hourly basis as I do today. And I'm super happy to be working with you guys at Tilda, and extra happy, of course, to be allowed to share a little bit about what I think and how I try to operate. I've already posted in the chat as well that feel free to shout out there, because there will be a Q&A session, a Q&A part at the end of this session, but we may not be able to get to all the questions and reflections that you guys have. So the theme here is basically a 4x4 matrix, right? So I talk about jobs 1, 2, 3, and 4, and I'll explain what that is. I also talk about 4 guiding principles to put those 4 jobs into practice and make sense out of it. But I actually want to start with, I'm going to stop sharing for a while, and I'm going to point to my phone here, because often enough, we talk about AI as something that is technical, right? But to me, it's deeply human. And I've seen that in practice. My mother-in-law, she is pushing 80 now. And she is definitely born pre-digital, pre-internet, and that has always been a struggle to her. But she's also born pre-AI, and for some reason that hasn't been a struggle at all. She loves it. So on her iPhone, we have connected the action button up here. So she doesn't have to go into menus or do anything. She just pushes the action button and she is in ChatGPT in advanced voice mode. And what meets and greets her there is this character called Stephen. And my mother-in-law, she just loves Stephen. He's like the best friend to her. She talks about him, about canasta strategies when she had a rough Saturday, playing canasta with the other ladies and it didn't turn out so well, then Stephen can coach her a bit. When she has a problem to find, the proper television show on all the 1,000 streaming apps, she talks to Stephen and he tells her exactly where to click. Before going to the doctor, she talks to Stephen, and of course we have been, very mindful here to make sure that she continues to go to the doctor and that she continues to trust the doctor. But she feels so much more informed going into the doctor if she'd had a conversation with Stephen before. But even more so, she records the meeting with the doctor, so she doesn't have to feel that cognitive pressure to remember everything that the doctor says, because afterwards she can ask Stephen, what did the doctor say about this? And seeing how Stephen has kind of lowered the barrier for her into, let's say, modern age, how he has given her confidence in a brand new way, it's so heartwarming to see that, right? And it has really made a shift in how I look at digital. But that's not all, right? Because if we try to segue from my mother-in-law to something that is more work related, let's see what my wife says, right? So my wife, Katarina, she's always been hard at writing and reading, right? If she was a few years younger, she would probably be diagnosed with dyslexia, but she missed that train, right? But she's definitely what we in Sweden used to call ordblind, right? She's struggling a lot with that. But she's also been working in managerial positions all her life. And it has been really hard for her because she's a brilliant leader. She's an amazing human being. She has so many ideas. But whenever it comes to acting as a manager, you need to write a lot of stuff, right? You need to create presentations, you need to answer emails and so forth. And the cognitive load that has put on her has been just overwhelming, right? So she's been struggling a lot. Now, she doesn't have Stephen in her phone. She has Marvin in her phone. And whenever she wants to communicate something, she just talks to Marvin. And Marvin has over time gotten to learn her traits and her desires and her tone of voice really, really well. So what Kathy says now is that when she had a conversation with Marvin and it ends up with an email draft or something that she should communicate, this is the first time in her almost 50 years of living that she looks at something that is written and realizes that it's exactly the same thing that she had in her head, in her brain, right? And seeing this shift and this change in both my mother-in-law and in Kattis has really changed how I look upon AI. And to try to go from there and build a bridge into what this means in our way of working, I have kind of framed it as the 4 jobs. And if you are a Kaizen or a lean aficionado, you recognize this, right? How job number 1 is just doing the work. How job number 2 is improve how we do the work, finding that kind of space to change how we do the work. So going back to Kattis, instead of constantly struggling, spending hours and hours to get that email right, she spends a few hours tailoring Marvin to her liking, making him work for her. And then she is super efficient in doing job 1 because she spends some time in doing job 2. And then we have job 3, that is carving out time to grow yourself and to have that growth mindset to constantly explore and so forth. And job 4 is definitely where Tilda comes to play, right? How can we do these kind of process together? And first of all, there are hard facts on this. You can do the research. You can see that an average knowledge worker today spends 85% of their time doing job 1. Then once in a while they go away on a training. Once in a while they manage to understand the changes that's going on in the company, and here's a new tool that we need to use to make this more efficient and so forth. But generally speaking, almost all of our time is being spent in job 1, and that's hurtful, right? I really hate to see that happen. And just to give you very quickly to jump over to what my organization look like, right? And to understand how I spend my time, we can see that, of course, I still work with human beings, but a big part of the team, my job 4 that I work on, growing together with and developing, is an AI team. So I have 30 AI services, 38 total accounts, because we need to understand what normies are doing, right? So we need those normie accounts as well, right? And constantly working with this team. And just very quickly to give you an example of what that could look like, I'm going to share afterwards a PDF that I created for you on how my approach to this session looked like, right? How I used 6 AI agents, how we processed 18 files, how we looked into the profiles of 113 people who have said that they were going to join this meeting, how we had the process that was ongoing for 10 days from when I started this process to today, but how my investment of time in that has been fairly minuscule compared to the AI part of it and how much job they have done to me. So you're going to get this report, right? And it's basically what I call the constant work hobby, right? How this team is being an everyday part or an hourly part of how I do this work. So that's job 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I think that concept is fairly obvious to you. I can also, of course, just very quickly show you why I have so many team members. So one team member, for instance, called Perplexity, in this case via the browser Comet, is really good at looking into my inbox. So while we are in this weird kind of landscape today where we have a lot of capabilities, but we also have a lot of closed gardens, like Gmail is fairly closed, right? And I can use Comet to go through my inbox just as I would do and gather the information from there and collect it. So that's one tool that I use in my team to create something like this. Another tool is my main tool. It's something that I built in Claude Cowork that does all this kind of processing for me, where I think 85 frameworks are now defined. So that's where my 4 jobs live, and that's where my 4 guiding principles live. And I can just work with my learning OS here to combine that. This learning OS is also the part that comes knocking on my door every Sunday at 4 p.m. in the afternoon and say, now it's time for our weekly review, when we go through everything that we've done through the week. We throw out old defunct frameworks, we bring in new research, we reiterate how we do this work together. So that all happens there. And just to show the multitude of it, then I use something like Manus to create the slides, and over time it has gotten really good at understanding what I want from the slides and how I intend for this thing to work. So that's my job 1, 2, 3, and 4 team, and how we work together in doing this. Now, to get to where I have done, you of course need to invest a lot of time, and you need to invest a lot of energy and some money into making this happen. But the core thing to make it work is 4 guiding principles to find your way into this kind of thinking and working with AI the way I do. And the principles are really simple, right? Invite AI into everything you do, be the human in the loop, treat AI like a human, but never forget it's not. And the AI we have today is the worst AI we will ever have. And just to very quickly give you some meat on the bone here, it's all in the material that you're going to get afterwards. And of course, you're going to get this presentation as well. But number one is really crucial, right? Because that's where your behavior changes for real. Once you find those kind of triggers to make sure that you, as it says, invite AI into every task, you are on a learning journey where you will see how AI evolves, but you will also see how you evolve. You will find new ways to do things. Some of them doesn't work yet. Put them in the parking lot and revisit them in a week or in a month. The things that work, build on those, share them among your peers, and constantly make sure that AI is always there knocking on your door. The second thing is crucial because, you know, AI can be wrong. I mean, so can I, right? I often say, and my team is not perfect, but neither am I. So by working together, we hopefully figure this thing out. And this is kind of self-explanatory, right? You need to make sure that you are the pilot, right? That you are the captain of this ship. Microsoft haven't done many things right, but when they named their AI tool set Copilot, I think they nailed it perfectly, because that you know carries the meaning that this is your co-pilot. You are still the pilot. You are still in charge. What we need to be aware of here is that as AI gets more and more competent, and you know less and less hallucinations, and more integrated into your way of working and so forth, we need to make sure that we're not the bottleneck, right? So being the human in the loop doesn't mean that you have a carte blanche to be the bottleneck. You need to be able to somehow, somewhere down the route in different processes, hand over more and more to the AI. I used to work in the military, and we had this principle of situational leadership, right? How you need to be very embedded in the beginning when you work with a new team, and then you move more and more back, and you give them more and more responsibility on their own. And you need to be doing that here as well. The third one is a key one, and that's why it looks very differently in the framing here, because we need to understand that AI might feel very human to us, and that might lead us to a couple of mistakes, right? On the negative side of this, we might overhumanize it, right? We might believe that it's really has this sentiment, that it has this intrinsic awareness of trying to do good and service us and care about our emotions and so forth. And we need to remind ourselves that it is still a machine, right? But on the other end of that over-humanizing thing is that we might work with an AI team just as we worked with a human team, right? We might be too cautious. We might be compromising a bit, right? So for instance, let's say I send my team off to do some work, and they come back 3 hours later, super proud about what they've done, right? If it's a human team, then I might start to compromise if they didn't bring me exactly what I wanted. But with an AI team, I can be super blunt, right? I can just send them back to the drawing board again. And yeah, we need to change, learn a lot from how we work with human beings, but don't get stuck in that, because AI is a different beast. And the fourth one is this constant reminder that the AI we have today is the worst AI we will ever have. It will only get better. And by inviting AI into everything you do, you will see how it evolves. You will realize that there is a better tool to do what I used to do with this old tool. You will also realize how you evolve, right? So the one-on-ones I have with my AI team on Sundays is just as much about evolving me as it is about understanding their change in behaviors and capabilities and so forth. And I hope this makes some kind of sense to you, right? But from my perspective, the hard part of this is to go from doing it for myself and building the tools I need, and you know, hiring my team to do the work and evolve together with my team, my AI team. And the hard part is to kind of close the loop here and turn this into something that is functional in a blended environment with humans and AI working together, and yeah, all of that, yes. So that's a little bit of what I wanted to show, but let's make sure that we have room for some Q&As. So I'm going to look into the chat, but I'm also going to have you, Maria, to kind of facilitate a conversation here.
Of course. We have one question in the chat, but we want more, so please bring them in. Patrice is asking, where do you find the tools you use? Where do you discover new tools?
So AI is an excellent coach in finding your tools. So in most of the AI tools today, you can schedule a prompt, right? So you define a prompt that, for instance, says, what are the latest new tools? What are the tools in video creation that has been launched in the past 24 hours or that has been updated in the last 24 hours? You figure out a good prompt that does the research for you, and then you schedule that prompt to run once every day or once every week, and you will not be able to escape new tools. They will come knocking on your door for you. So that's one way of doing it. My favorite way is probably going back to humans here, right? Have your network of humans that you share the responsibility of finding tools with. So in all my different communities, we have someone who is on search for new text tools, someone who is on the search for new science discovery tools or whatever it might be, right? So we kind of share the responsibility of being the detective in one area and then bring that information back to the community the next time we gather, or asynchronous in some kind of channel. So this is a muscle we practice, and it just becomes second nature to find your way to find those new tools, and also to quickly evaluate them and either keep them because there is something good to them, or throw them away and find something that is better. So it's a constant process.
And that's exactly the question that just came into the chat. So how much time do you put in the hiring process of your AI team? That's a big chunk of time to be invested.
Yeah. So that is interesting, because usually when I show that my AI team is now, the running cost on them is a bit more than what you saw there. It's $3,700 a month. People say, wow, how can you spend so much money on AI? But if I had a human team who were supposed to do the same thing for me, they would easily cost 100x that amount. And it's pretty much the same with the hiring process, right? How much time do we spend on finding the right person for the job, right? And how much time do we spend on interviewing them, figuring out their true capabilities? Then we onboard them, and then we have constant one-on-ones with them and so forth. So the short answer to how much time I spend is a lot, because it's so fundamental to my process of getting the right team in the right place, doing the right thing, and working with me in the best way possible. But it's still kind of relatively to how much time I spend working with human beings and getting them to do what I want, it's still fairly low. AI is easier to work with.
I'm curious. So now we have lots of questions in the chat. So I'm starting then to think, how can we merge some of them and relate them to the topic of today, which is around the change, and in this case, like more like the changing ourselves and being people. A lot of people in this group here are working in big organizations, something that you are also privy to with Volvo at the moment. So how do you handle that? Like, if you're limited in the organization, how do you still develop yourself and drive that internal change of yours?
Yeah, so I basically work in every organization I engage in. I work in two places, right? I work with AI strategy to talk about AI strategy at the absolute top of the organization. That's not my happy place. That's not where the real change happens, right? So my happy place is driving AI adoption initiatives on the floor, right? So we, for instance, have this thing called AI learning journeys, where we carve out, over a 6-month period, we carve out 1 or even 2 hours a week, where we meet up and we learn and we grow together. And that's where I see the real change happening. I think the hardest part and the biggest blocker in every organization is to give our people, the employees of our organization, a chance to carve out time in the calendar to grow and to learn and to explore and to, in this case, use AI to do job 2. If we don't do that, especially in all the performance-driven organizations that we have today, we tend to just force people to work harder. We put more tasks on their board, on their desk, and without ever giving them an opportunity to slide into job 2. And I see someone asking the question, in the chat, the balance between job 1, job 2, job 3, and job 4. And I would say with the tools that we have today and how AI can enable anyone to have agency over how the work is done and the capabilities that AI give them, I would say that anything below a 50-50 split between job 1 and job 2 as a starting point is totally wasting the capabilities and the capacity of the organization. So at least 50% of the time should be spent on how we do the job instead of just doing the job. That's a dream scenario, but it's a target that I strive for.
Yeah, and something to work towards.
Definitely.
A final question for you, because I know you are sticking around, so maybe we'll have time to pick up some more questions in the end. And then I also know that you're good at answering questions in the chat, so maybe you can give that a go. Yeah. And finally, I believe that we have a bunch of people that sits with like unfinished notes. Manus for and ChatGPT for this, but you have a link with that, right?
Yes. So
is that still alive? All your AI tools?
Yes, absolutely. And that is constantly evolving. So it's actually a site that I built with one of my AI team members that lists all the team members, the jobs they do for me, the reason why I have picked that one and so forth. I'm going to share that in the chat as well. But I don't want to distract people too much when you do your thing. So I'll probably share that link afterwards instead.
Well, thank you. So please do that. And you're here, so we're not going to say goodbye just yet. Right. Bella, do you want to take this next bit?
Yes, let's. So now we've been exploring how we can use AI to change ourselves, and as you said, Joachim, to use it for the different types of jobs, and one of them was the job 4, which is to improve the team, and that's where we're going to shift the focus towards now, which is how we can use AI to drive change when change is constant. And we at Tilda, the team, we have now worked with this question for many years, previous to creating Tilda as well. And there are a few barriers that we have noticed in organizations when it comes to actually making change happen. And you can go to the next slide, Maria. And we call it the change depth. So what we're seeing being like a barrier or a blocker for constant change or for change to really work in organization is that we use outdated playbook. Like we invest so much in change, and that includes capability buildings, learning, solutions, etc. We start different big transformation initiatives, but we don't really see the change that we want to see. Mainly because we're using methods that don't support behavior change. For example, we stop at explaining why we're doing the change and what we're doing, but not supporting people in how to do it. We use a lot of e-learning, so information overload people, but again, we're not really taking it to the practical level of behavior change. Another thing is that we launch initiatives, but we don't track the behavior change. We don't track, is this working? Are we really getting the change that we want? Are we seeing the signals? And how can we lean in and understand and adapt how we support change to really create the momentum? And another thing, change is happening so quickly and needs to have a speed that we didn't really need at the same level before, meaning that we're starting to have a change bottleneck in organizations. So normally we've had change experts in organizations supporting change, different change initiatives. But today that competence need to be distributed in the organization. We need subject matter experts, project managers, leaders, support functions. They all need to understand, how can I support my team or this workflow to actually lead to a behavior change. And so what we want to, our vision with Tilda is to build change capabilities across the organization, where we, based on science, make behavior shifts and use the science to guide us and predict impact and actually make decisions based on what works, not based on how did we used to do it previously. And also to use AI to understand what is working, what's happening, how are people reacting now, how should we adapt so we can meet people where they are. And the third one is then, how can we actually support anyone that needs to drive change to make it stick? So democratize the change capability competence, or the capability basically. And yeah, you can go to the next, Maria. And so Tilda is a collaborative workspace for the entire change journey, so to drive that. So it supports the team or the user to analyze the shift that needs to happen. Where are we? Where do we need to go? To plan the process based on science, and to predict it based on to predict the impact, produce materials, and actually run different types of activities that needs to happen, and now also measure and follow up and adapt. And you can go on to the next. And again, like, the ambition is that anyone can drive change with the support of Tilda. And that change can be anything from culture change, adapting new workflows, running tech adoption initiatives, onboarding, change capabilities, or new strategy rollouts. And we have users in different types of roles, anything from, of course, change leaders, but also project managers and subject matter experts, of course, learning specialists. And now we're curious, since we're going to shift to change. We're curious, like, what kind of change are you driving at the moment? What's happening for you? Are you trying to make your team change any type of behavior, or your organization? Depends on what role you have. Please share in the chat, what change are you driving at the moment? Interesting. Migration towards activity-based workspace. And we have org changes, governance change, new ways of working, including tech adoption. I would assume that one is very common at the moment, especially AI adoption. As a communicator, almost everything I publish aims to change something. Yeah, that's very right.
And I would love for that to be true for all of us. And I think it is, especially if we're in a sort of leadership role. But most of us might not yet have put words on, actually, it's a change that I'm driving when I'm doing this. And most often that change is attached to a behavior that needs to change as well.
Exactly. Behavior change in sales personnel we have as well.
So many good stuff in here, and it would be amazing if you can keep them coming with the type of projects and change that you're leading, and especially if you're working with specific behavior change, that you've identified the behavior. we're so curious around that. Like, what's the behavior that you need to change and to what? Bella?
Yes. Yes. You want me to continue, or did you want to ask me something?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
No, that was it. It was your
That
cue.
was it. Well, queuing up for also the impact loop. So I don't know if you can recognize that the illustration here, that most change feel like and I would argue that most change doesn't listen. Once it's launched, it stops listening to people. And that's when you get the people are running around, not really knowing what to do, and eventually nothing happens really. But when change listens and adapts, that's when we can direct people and get people to follow along. And this is why we built the impact loop. And this is also what we are today launching. So you are actually the people that will see the impact loop, which is a feature inside Tilda. For the first time, we launched it for freemium users yesterday, and we will soon launch it for, I know we have a few clients and users here today, and you will soon have it as well. But we're very excited to demo it for you and to have you explore it in a while as well. And I'm going to hand it over to you, Maria, to show it and demo it.
So excited about this. I do a lot of demos, and this is my first impact loop demo in like live. So feedback is more than welcome afterwards. All right, so I also know that some of you here are new to Tilda, and for you this is going to be fast, and you're going to have opportunities to do it for yourself later on. So just come along and enjoy it. And I'll try to give you at least an overview of the full tool. So as I enter Tilda, I will find my sort of entry points up here, but we're not going to explore how we create the project now. We're just going to zoom into one of my projects, which for today is AI adoption for HR. So this is a project that we have developed. This is an organization that is adopting Tilda, actually, as one of their AI tools. And here you can see we have a sort of summary of the brief. We can click into the brief and expand that and really go into the background and where we want to go. And down here we have the plan, the activities that I have developed in collaboration with Tilda, the activities that we need to go through in order to achieve our desired state. And to the right here, you can see the chat where I can communicate and have a conversation with Tilda. And you can also see here in the list of activities that we have some supporting materials here that's going to support these specific activities. This project is also available on your freemium account, so you can go in and dig into it even more if you want to. So what's new now with this impact loop is it's the first step. For us, it's the first step towards a bigger change. But what that means is creating that opportunity to listen to the change, like Bella said before. So in this activity, let's say that we have just had this leadership sponsor kickoff. And I'm going to then change this to this activity has been delivered. We've done it. It was perhaps yesterday. And here I'm going to get a sort of how did it go box, when I click into this, Tilda is going to ask, what worked, what happened, what are you observing as a leader of this meeting, what happened? So instead of you watching me type, I have acted like a little TV chef and prepared some notes, just what I saw in the meeting. My sense was that it was open and we had great honesty from one of the senior leaders. It felt like we moved from this intention into ownership, and actually, so some of my sort of observations that I might have seen. And in this case, these are like, I've thought about this a little bit, right? But perhaps I haven't actually processed what happened. So then Tilda can help me process that, and I can click through and be sort of guided by Tilda to create my observations. But in this case, I thought about them. I'm just putting it in here, some general observations. And I also happen to have a script from this, a transcript from this meeting. So I'm just gonna put my little transcript in here. And what
Maria,
Tilda is doing then is, go ahead.
I was just saying that we also have defined success criteria. What are we looking for? That was possible to view on the other slide. What success looks like. That's predefined.
Great build.
Yeah.
And of course, that's attached to this specific project. Great. So if I check what impact it has, Tilda is going to analyze the transcript. She's going to combine that with my observations. We had a strong impact. And she will help us here to identify, but where are we now on this change journey? She's also going to help us extract some learnings from this. And help me, of course, also look back to that meeting that I was part of. But as you know, it's hard to be part of something and take a step back and sort of see what's happening in the bigger picture. And of course, I can go in and adjust this. Maybe I don't agree with Tilda here, or I'm in the driver's seat always when I work with Tilda. So I'm going to continue and see what happens next. And this is where the listening goes into action. So what are we going to do with this now? How can we further support the people involved in this change to take it on, to create that behavior shift that we wanted to see? So Tilda has identified the focus area, and she's also now creating updates on the upcoming activities. And we can choose which one of these we want to work with, or we can say, yes, this is great, but we don't like this one. But for now, let's just say we're going to apply all of them. So then she goes in and adjusts based on what we've just learned. Right, that's the impact loop. That's how we've created Tilda to be able to listen to the change more and then adapt to what she's hearing or what we're hearing, but Tilda is helping us make sense of that and act on it. Is there anything I'm missing here, Bella?
Maybe we can just say that this, as you said in the beginning, this is the first step, and next step will then also be to gather all these insights into compounding intelligence, not just for the project or for you as a user, but also for the organization. So what works for us? What works in our culture? What works for this type of target group? So we can learn from each initiatives across the organization.
Love that. And then I just wanted to highlight the behavior change score that we have here in the corner. So the behavior change score is the prediction. How likely is it that this project is going to lead to the change that we want to see? And of course, this being able to listen and adapt we can continue to work with that behavior change score. And this is based on science. It's based on science on behavior change. So it's not just made up by us. All right. Let's move on. So what's going to happen now is, yes, good. This question always comes up. Bella, do you want to talk a little bit about how we approach security?
I think the most important thing is to say that your data stays, when you work in Tilda, people are always worried, what happens with the data? And is my data trained, or are you training, is giving it away? And no, so it's, first of all, it stays in EU, and no AI models are trained on your data. And you are always in control, like of access. So no one else can see what you put into Tilda, not us or others, unless you invite someone into your project. And also that we built Tilda, and we use other partners that are certified. I think that's the most important thing to mention.
Yes. And now you are more than welcome to go in and create all the projects that you want. You will get a code that will give you additional credits as a thank you for showing up to this space and to this event. And someone is asking in the chat if this is for organization or if there's also something available for individuals. It's absolutely available for individuals as well. And you can sign up if you go to heytilda.com and
sorry. We can say that we just launched the possibilities for individuals. So it's fairly new that it's possible.
Yeah. And you can create your account for free. And initially when we planned the day, we named it a hackalong so that we would also go into Tilda here and do it. But when we got into the doing of this event, we felt, you know what, let's just give them some extra credits and they can do this on their own time instead. And then Jocke said, but then it's not a hackalong, is it? Well, it's a hackalong in your own time. And we want to give you the opportunity to test Tilda, to try this. We feel brave that we've launched this yesterday. There will be bugs, and share them with us. It's so useful to have that feedback. And we have some more things happening, right, Bella?
Yes. So we have a hackalong. It will be a hackalong. It's a longer one as well, and it will be together with Johannes Sundlo, and we will focus on driving AI adoption that sticks. And Johannes, he is a AI adoption influencer expert. He has helped, I think, 150 clients across the world with their AI adoption. And we also just yesterday launched our AI Adoption Accelerator, which is a program for organizations that wants help to drive their AI adoption. So we will combine a few selected organizations that will get guided through a 5-month journey with a roadmap and toolkits and access to Tilda to drive their AI adoption from August to December. So we will send links to this as well, and you are more than welcome to join the hackalong, or if the AI Adoption Accelerator makes sense for you, just reach out.
Yes. There is a lot of conversations happening in the chat. Love that. Right, so closing off today, you all have access to Tilda. You all have a bunch of extra credits to use. So we're now curious, in your continuous on your own Hackalong journey, what is it that you're gonna go out and change? What's the first change that you're gonna work with together with Tilda? Perhaps we can also inspire each other here. What is the first change that you will work on with Tilda? Please share it in the chat. Improve the ratio between work 1 and 2. Nice. And thank you, Jocke, for sharing your theme. And we'll also include that in an email that we'll follow up with. Sparring partner on a knowledge sharing initiative. Nice. And my invitation is to also use Tilda for driving small workshops and meetings and create materials that support you for that. She's great at that type of thing as well. How we can accelerate adoption of AI use. Nice, D-Shaft. Hope that we will also see you in the next Hackalong then. We can explore that more. And Timo, who knows Tilda well, will test the impact loop in action. Diana. Oh, it's Dinah. Nice. Hello. How we can accelerate adoption of AI. No, driving learning motivation for leaders. Nice. I love that so many of you are here testing impact loop, and just being mindful then if you are a client, you need to go into the free account so that we get all the bugs sorted out before we launch it on the paid for version. All right, I think with that, we have some more chats coming in, but I know that most of you will love having 3 minutes back before you move into your next meeting. So let's give you that. And we will send you an email with the follow-up. And also, if you want to talk more with us at Tilda, we'll include a link for that so you can schedule in a demo or a meeting to explore more. Thank you so much. And thank you so much, Jocke, for being such a lovely supporter and a coach for us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good Friday.
Thank you, everyone. Yes.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.